Failure is not sudden. It doesn't arrive like a thunderstorm. It comes quietly, almost unnoticed. One little mistake, one small compromise, one choice to neglect discipline. It doesn't ruin a life in a moment. But when those small errors are repeated day after day, they compound and soon they write a story called failure. The truth is, failure isn't usually the result of one catastrophic decision. It's built brick by brick from the little decisions we make each day. Skipping a task because we think it doesn't matter. Spending when we should be saving. Ignoring health when it asks for care. Postponing growth because it seems uncomfortable. None of these feel dangerous in the moment. But repeated over years, they shape destiny. On the other hand, success is built the same way, but in reverse. Success is also small choices, small disciplines, small corrections, practiced consistently until they form habits. Reading a few pages every day, saving a little money, exercising for 15 minutes, making one extra call, saying no when it would be easier to say yes. These don't look like much on any single day, but practiced daily, they become powerful. The lesson is simple: every day you are writing your future, not with dramatic gestures, but with tiny strokes of judgment. A wrong judgment repeated daily quietly builds disaster. A right judgment repeated daily quietly builds success. So if you want to change your future, don't wait for a big breakthrough. Change your daily errors. Correct your little judgments. Turn bad habits into good ones. It doesn't take a revolution. It takes a decision. Repeat it every day. Failure rarely happens in an instant. People often look at someone who has lost their health, their fortune, their reputation, or their opportunities, and they imagine it happens suddenly, like a lightning strike. But in truth, it almost never does. Failure is not an explosion. It's erosion. It's the slow wearing down of character, discipline, and judgment over time. Think about it this way: if you eat one unhealthy meal, nothing happens. You won't gain 10 pounds overnight. You won't collapse from poor health in a single day. But if you repeat that choice over weeks, months, and years, if you let that error in judgment compound, it eventually produces the results you didn't want. The body breaks down not because of one meal, but because of years of neglect. The same principle applies to finances. Skipping one day of saving won't bankrupt you. Spending a little extra one time won't destroy your future. But when a little extra becomes a habit, when saving is always postponed, when discipline is ignored just a little bit every day, that's when failure arrives. And when it does, it feels sudden, but in reality, it's been building quietly in the shadows all along. This is why we must learn to respect the power of small daily choices. It is easier to ignore them, easier to tell ourselves, one more time won't matter. But the truth is, one more time always matters, because one more becomes a pattern. And patterns are powerful. They shape destiny. Failure is not a thief that breaks into your life suddenly. It's more like termites in a wooden house. You don't see the damage at first. The structure looks strong from the outside, but little by little, each day, the foundation is being eaten away. And one day, when the collapse finally comes, it seems like disaster happened in a moment. But in reality, it was happening quietly all along. Here's the great news: if failure is nothing more than small errors in judgment, repeated daily, then success is simply the opposite. Success is small disciplines in judgment, repeated daily. And just as failure compounds silently, so does success. Every day you read a book, instead of wasting time, you are building wisdom. Every day you choose to exercise, you are building strength. Every day you put a little money aside, you are building wealth. At first, the results don't show. But just like with failure, success is compounding. So when you think of failure, don't imagine a dramatic collapse. Imagine instead the small error of choosing comfort over growth, neglect over discipline, or laziness over action. And when you think of success, don't imagine a sudden breakthrough. Imagine instead the small victory of doing what you know is right, even when it's inconvenient. Failure is not an event, it's a process. And the process is made up of daily decisions. If you want to avoid failure, don't wait for the big moments. Guard against the little errors. Correct the small mistakes. Refuse the daily neglect, because those tiny errors may not hurt you today, but they are shaping the person you will become tomorrow. Life rarely punishes us immediately for one bad choice. Skip your workout today, and you'll still fit into your clothes tomorrow. Eat that dessert, and you'll probably still feel fine the next morning. Ignore one opportunity, and the sun will still rise. That's what makes neglected choices so deceptive. They whisper to us that they don't matter. But what we fail to see is that each neglected choice doesn't simply vanish, it leaves behind a seed, and that seed grows into weakness for tomorrow. Think about your body for a moment. If you skip exercise today, your muscles don't shrink instantly, but the choice sets a precedent. The habit of skipping becomes easier. Discipline softens, energy declines. It's not the skipped day that destroys your health. It's the repeated neglect that weakens tomorrow, day after day, until suddenly the body is no longer capable of what it once was. The same truth applies to the mind. Neglect to read, to learn, to stretch your thinking, and tomorrow you won't wake up ignorant, but you will wake up a little less sharp. And the person who did choose to read, to study, to grow, tomorrow they are a little wiser, a little stronger in thought, a little more prepared for opportunity. The gap widens slowly, almost invisibly, until one day it becomes a chasm. Neglect is always patient. It never demands immediate payment. That's why people underestimate it. If the consequence came instantly, we'd be far more careful. But because the penalty is delayed, people fall into the trap of believing it doesn't matter today. The truth is, everything matters. Every little choice is either building a wall of strength or carving out a crack of weakness. Neglect in relationships works the same way. You don't lose a friendship, a marriage, or a connection in one moment. You lose it slowly through small neglects. Forgetting to listen, failing to appreciate, ignoring what matters to the other person. One missed moment of care may not ruin the relationship today, but repeated neglect weakens the bond until one day it snaps under the weight of years of inattention. Here's the key. One choice may not ruin today, but it always influences tomorrow. Think of yourself like a bank account. Each good decision is a deposit. Each neglected choice is a withdrawal. A single withdrawal doesn't bankrupt the account, but repeated withdrawals without deposits lead to overdraft. And when the bill comes due, it's often far heavier than we ever imagined. So, what should we do? Start respecting today as the architect of tomorrow. Don't underestimate the small decisions. Read the book today, even if it's just a few pages. Save a little money today, even if it's just a few coins. Practice kindness today, even if it feels unnoticed. Exercise today, even if it's only 10 minutes. These choices may not transform today, but they will strengthen tomorrow. Remember, neglect is silent, but it is never neutral. It is always at work, either weakening your tomorrow or strengthening it. If you want a better tomorrow, make the choices today that build it. Refuse to be fooled by the illusion that one time doesn't matter. It matters more than you know, because tomorrow will inherit everything you neglected or everything you disciplined yourself to do. Neglect is a quiet teacher, but its lessons are painful. One missed day doesn't hurt much. One poor choice doesn't destroy much. But when neglect becomes a pattern, it gathers interest, just like money in the bank. Except this interest doesn't pay you. It charges you. And the final bill is called regret. Think about how compound interest works. You deposit a little money every day, and even though it doesn't look like much, over time it grows into something significant. Neglect works by the same principle, but in reverse. Skip the small disciplines, ignore the important habits, choose the easy path, just this once. And little by little, you're creating a debt. You may not notice it today or tomorrow, but eventually the weight of that debt shows up in your health, your finances, your relationships, and your opportunities. Regret is the voice that says, I could have, I should have, I wish I had. And it's not born from one dramatic mistake. It's born from thousands of small neglects. The person who wishes they had cared for their body doesn't regret one skipped workout. They regret years of neglect. The person who wishes they had saved doesn't regret one shopping trip. They regret decades of financial drift. The person who wishes they had studied, ground, and prepared doesn't regret one missed book. They regret a lifetime of squandered learning. The cruel thing about regret is that it is always more painful than discipline. Discipline weighs ounces, regret weighs tons. Discipline asks you to pay a small price every day. Little effort, a little focus, a little restraint. Regret demands the full payment all at once. At the end, when it's too late to change what's been lost, imagine two roads. On one road, a man chooses small disciplines every day. He doesn't see big results at first, but over time, he builds health, wealth, and character. On the other road, another man neglects those same disciplines. He doesn't see big damage at first, but over time, the neglect compounds. Years later, one road ends in fulfillment, the other in regret. The only difference was the daily choices. That's why repeated neglect is so dangerous. It hides its consequences. It lets you feel safe in the moment, but it is quietly piling up regret for the future. And when the day of reckoning comes, you can't go back and undo the neglect. You can't reclaim the years you ignored. Regret is permanent. But here's the hopeful side. The moment you recognize neglect, you can break the cycle. You can stop compounding regret and start compounding success. Just like bad habits grow, so do good habits. Reading compounds into wisdom. Saving compounds into freedom. Exercising compounds into strength. Learning compounds into opportunity. Every small act of discipline replaces a seed of regret with a seed of reward. The question you must ask yourself is this: do I want to pay the price of discipline today or the price of regret tomorrow? One is small and daily, the other is heavy and lifelong. One builds, the other destroys. Remember this truth: repeated neglect compounds into regret. Don't let your future self look back with sorrow at the choices you avoided today. Choose discipline now so that years from now, instead of saying, "I wish I had," you can say with confidence, "I'm glad I did." When people think about success and failure, they imagine them as opposites that live on different planets. But in truth, they're neighbors. They're built from the same material. The only difference is the direction of repetition. Failure is simply a few small errors in judgment repeated every day. Success is a few small disciplines in judgment repeated every day. Both use the same tool, repetition. One builds regret, the other builds reward. Think about brushing your teeth. If you brush once, nothing dramatic happens. If you skip brushing once, nothing dramatic happens. But if you brush every day for years, you keep your teeth healthy. If you neglect brushing every day for years, you pay the price. Success and failure both live in repetition. It's the same with health. A daily walk may not transform your body in a week, but after months and years, the results are undeniable. Eating fast food once won't destroy you, but repeating that choice over years will. The difference isn't in the size of the action, but in the consistency of the repetition. Repetition is a powerful law. It doesn't care what you feed it. If you repeat laziness, procrastination, and excuses, it will multiply them until your life is full of failure. If you repeat discipline, growth, and effort, it will multiply them until your life is full of success. Repetition works like soil. Whatever seed you plant and water every day, it will grow. Plant weeds, you get weeds. Plant fruit, you get fruit. The soil doesn't argue, it just produces. The reason repetition is so powerful is because it shapes habits, and habits shape destiny. Nobody wakes up disciplined or lazy. It's what you've been repeating daily that defines you. Success is not luck, and failure is not fate. They are the harvest of repetition. Now, here's the trap many fall into. Because repetition starts small, it feels insignificant. Reading 10 pages today doesn't feel like it matters. Saving a few coins doesn't feel like it matters. Doing push-ups today doesn't feel like it matters. But here's the truth: it's not today that matters. It's the accumulation of today repeated over hundreds of tomorrows. That's why people are shocked by success and failure. They say, "How did this person become so wise, so wealthy, so healthy?" Or they say, "How did this person lose it all, waste their potential, ruin their health?" The answer is the same in both cases: repetition. Success and failure don't shout in your face. They whisper in your habits. Here's the good news, repetition can work in your favor the moment you decide. You don't need to change your entire life overnight. You only need to change what you repeat. Stop repeating neglect. Start repeating discipline. Stop repeating bad choices. Start repeating good ones. The results will not come tomorrow, but they will come. And when they do, they will be as undeniable as the sunrise. So remember, success and failure are twins. They are built the same way, through repetition. The question is not whether you will repeat something every day, because you will. The real question is, what will you repeat? Great achievements are never the product of a single giant leap. They are the result of steady, consistent steps taken day after day. The world admires the mountain peak, but few pay attention to the small steps that climbed it. What looks like sudden success from the outside is almost always the quiet accumulation of small disciplines practiced faithfully over time. Discipline doesn't have to be dramatic to be powerful. Think about reading. 10 pages a day doesn't look like much. You could finish in 15 minutes. But if you repeat that small discipline every day for a year, you've read 650 pages, the equivalent of dozens of books. That's an education born not from cramming, but from daily discipline. Over 5 years, you've read a library. What began as 10 pages became a transformed mind. Or consider money. Saving a small amount each day doesn't feel like progress. But with consistency, compounded over time, that discipline creates financial strength and freedom. What was once a few coins becomes security, investment, and opportunity. Wealth is rarely sudden. It is disciplined saving repeated over years. The same is true for health. You don't need to run a marathon tomorrow. Start with 15 minutes of movement each day. Over time, that simple practice reshapes your body, renews your energy, and extends your life. What looked like a small discipline becomes a great achievement. The secret lies not in the size of the discipline, but in the persistence of it. Small disciplines may look too ordinary to matter, but over time they compound into extraordinary results. The danger is that people dismiss them because they don't see instant change. They say, What difference does one glass of water make? What difference does one walk make? What difference does one page make? And in the moment, they're right. It doesn't make much difference. But repeated over time, it makes all the difference in the world. Success is not about occasional inspiration. It is about daily discipline. Inspiration can get you started, but only discipline keeps you going. Every day you keep a promise to yourself. Every day you do what you said you would do. You're building a foundation. That foundation will hold up dreams, careers, families, and futures. History is filled with men and women whose greatness was not built on dramatic events, but on small, daily habits. An artist who sketches every day sharpens a gift that one day produces masterpieces. A writer who commits to a page a day eventually creates books that inspire generations. A businessperson who makes one extra call every day builds a network that turns into opportunity. Greatness hides in the ordinary. Extraordinary results are nothing more than ordinary disciplines multiplied by time. That is why you must never despise small beginnings. What feels small today is shaping something great tomorrow. So ask yourself, what small discipline can I practice daily? What one habit can I choose that over time will transform my life? Don't wait for dramatic change. Begin with small, steady steps. Because when small disciplines are multiplied by the days, weeks, and years of your life, they turn into achievements so great that others will call them extraordinary. When all you did was repeat something small every single day.